Welcome back, everybody. Tim Walsh, Vanilla Gorilla Athletics, here with another episode in our exercise demonstration series. So what I'm going to show you today is the one-arm barbell row. This is probably one of my favorite old school mass building exercises. There's one right way to do this exercise and a bunch of wrong ways that kind of look like the right way. So we're going to talk about what the one-arm barbell row should be doing for us. I'll show you the proper way to execute it, and then a couple of things that you really want to be careful not to do so that we don't execute it improperly. So first and foremost, the one-arm barbell row, very similar to the single standing dumbbell row, is an absolutely fantastic exercise for hitting the lower portion of the lat. To make the most of it, it's really important to keep in mind that the function of the lat, if we're in this position, to get maximum activation, we want to be thinking about pulling the elbow right back to about this point at the hip. So if you can imagine, if there was a red dot right here on my hip and a string attached to my elbow, I want to be thinking about pulling my elbow toward that dot. Now what's happening when I do that, I'm getting really good activation in my lower lat, and probably the most important thing, there's nothing going on with my trapezius. So where people get into trouble, especially when they want to get a big strong back and specifically big thick lower lats, they want to move the heaviest load that they can, and what inadvertently they'll end up doing is over-activating the trapezius, because when a load gets heavy, unless you have a fabulous relationship with your lats, the trapezius says, hey, I'm here, I'm right next door, I want to help you move. They're like that overexcited friend that just wants to get involved in everything. So we want to leave that friend on the porch today. We're working by ourselves. We're the lat, we got this, we don't need backup. So proper execution of the one-arm barbell row. I like to grip it right up where the collar meets the bar. And you'll notice I'm using a 25-pound plate specifically because the circumference is smaller. If you have a big 45-pound plate, especially if you get real strong and you get a few of them, you can't get full range of motion because the plate runs into your to the outer part of your abdomen. So ideally what we do as we get stronger is just keep adding 25-pound plates, or 10s and 5s if you need to make smaller load increases. So I'm going to create a good sturdy base, feet side by side. My support hand I'm going to put on my outside knee, and I'm going to grip the bar just like this and keep my back nice and flat, almost parallel to the floor. And then again, watch that elbow. I'm trying to pull it back to the hip. And all of the work is being done by my lower lat. Now, if I was to be maybe out of position, if I'm standing too far back and I grab the bar, I'm going to wind up doing something like this. It's basically impossible for me to activate my lat in that situation. What I'm getting is a bunch of rear delt, rhomboid, and trapezius. So a quick fix is just step a little bit further forward, and then the problem should pretty much correct itself, but it's not impossible to activate the trapezius. This might look relatively similar, but that was all trap and rear delt and really bicep. So it's super important. Upper back almost parallel to the floor, elbow goes back to the hip. One more time in real time. And that's how to get proper activation with the one-arm barbell row. There's not a lot of different ways to tweak this exercise, but there are a couple. One of the things that I will typically do, especially if I'm using this as maybe my second or third exercise when my lat's already full of blood, one of the ways that I like to make this a little bit more intense, especially if it's a day where I'm not feeling super strong, on a day where I feel really great, I'd probably just keep adding 25s and stick with straight sets, maybe 8 to 10, or I might work up to a drop set. But if I wanted to go a different route and increase the intensity and the activation of my lat without necessarily going heavier, I would use the old trick of just hitting that contraction and trying to hold it for a 2 count. So what that would look like in real time, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's really hard. Once you nail that contraction, it's really, really tough to keep the back nice and flat and really hold that squeeze. So if you take a load that you can normally move for a straight set of 10 reps with no paused contraction and just start adding in 2 count contractions, you'll probably see the total number of reps that you can get is going to drop by 2 or 3. So a great way to keep moving forward and still be, technically speaking, abiding by the rules of progressive overload. A way to make that situation a little bit more difficult is to take the same load that you were using and double the time under tension in the contracted position. So you hit that count, 1, 2, roll into your deep stretch, and away you go. Another thing that you could do is turn this into a rest pause situation. Let's say I'd done 2 or 3 feeder sets with 25 pounds, and for whatever reason, if my option wasn't going to be to try and increase load and see if I can go a little heavier, maybe lose a few reps on my last set, which is fine, but if you want to get a little bit fancier, what you could do is take that load that you normally can get for 10 reps, and let's say you get your 9th rep and maybe a little bit of body English on the 10th, you just set it down. Maybe let it 5-6 seconds go by, re-engage, maybe we get 3 more, and we put it back down again. Let a few more seconds go by, we get a couple more and then we're done. So a situation like that, I may have only gotten 10 reps and then just walked away from it, or I get my 10 reps or even only 9 reps and I set it down, I keep everything nice and tight, I keep the tension in the lat, let a few seconds go by, get another rep, put it back down, let a few seconds go by, get another rep. Maybe I end up getting 14 or 15 reps that way instead of having to stop at 10. So elevating the time under tension in the contraction for a 2 count, or turning it into a rest pause situation where we actually put the load all the way back down on the ground, but we keep the tension. We let a few seconds go by, we hit another rep, and we grind out a few extras that way. That's a couple of great alternatives to simply adding load to promote better muscle fiber recruitment and big, thick, low-hanging lats. So hit us up in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of these, that exercise and those variations. And I take requests. If there's anything you haven't seen yet, or you want a couple of variations on an exercise that you're using, hit me up. I'll see what I can come up with and get back to you. Tim Walsh, Vanilla Gorilla Athletics. Thanks very much for coming out.